I, Dr. Frederick Palance Barrymore, am about to embark upon a most controversial and somewhat dangerous experiment involving an exchange of the condition of our basic natures. Even as a child, I was intrigued and obsessed with the transformation of one state of being into another. After an endless series of trial and error, I finally found the definitive answer to my laborious endeavors: the actual mental and physical metamorphosis of the human being and his soul. Unfortunately, a grand poo-poo happened, and now I cannot transfer myself back to Dr. Barrymore. And I find I am trapped inside this creature-like being known as Igorro. Igorro. Admiral, something strange on the screen. What is it, Commander? Luke, it's Godzilla. You're right, it is Godzilla. Hello, it's me, Igorro. I'm here to talk about Godzilla -1/review not. Because let's face it, if you've been out there, you've seen so many reviews of Godzilla -1 that your head's spinning. Everybody and everybody's cat is reviewing Godzilla -1. And here's the little factoid about Godzilla -1. I haven't seen it yet. So you take a review, and that's fine, just kind of shove it in your own head. There's more reviews of Godzilla -1 than there are Godzilla films. And you know how many Godzilla films that there are? A lot! There's a lot of them. So, today, I'm going to talk a little bit about Godzilla's movements and how Godzilla's changed from 1956 to way up now to 2023/24/25. It's had a lot of changes with Godzilla. So, without any further delay, first I'll do a quick impression of the 1956 Godzilla. Look, over there, it's Godzilla. You're right, Commander. It is Godzilla. Run! There's always that dubbing problem, right? Luke! Godzilla! Oh! Excuse me. So the first Godzilla was, first of all, he was done in black and white, right? It was black and white. So that had a film noir kind of quality to it. Plus the very first Godzilla, the first guy they got to play him, who's very famous, his name is, I can't remember, but he's very famous. I'll put it across the board or not, look it up. Everybody knows him. I've seen him talk actually at Monsterpalooza. Anyway, they were trying to figure out who they're gonna get to put in our Godzilla suit. And they thought, hey, how about that one guy that let us catch him on fire? And they're like, yeah, let's get that guy. Because the first Godzilla suit that was made, it was made out of like, kind of like a chicken wire. Oh, excuse me. And a lot of similar to plaster of Paris kind of stuff. Anyway, it ended up weighing a ton. So when they put the guy, the suit on the guy, he basically like this, and he couldn't move. And they're like, yeah, because keep in mind, this is way before any kind of giant monster movie really was made. I mean, there were a couple, but Godzilla was like the original 1954 Godzilla. It's kind of the first one. It was the first biggie, right? So they were experimenting with this costume. So they finally kind of came up with a costume that was more rubber and rubberized, and so that was had a little more movement, so he could move in it. And if you notice the original Godzilla, he kind of moves mostly up in here. It's pretty stiff in the upper areas, and of course the feet were a big deal, right? So the scene that we all remember in Godzilla is when he's biting into the electrical cables on those electrical towers. That's the classic scene. Play it back and watch it. But that was the most memorable part of what made Godzilla look so cool. So anyway, if you also notice, in the original Godzilla, they also didn't always just use the shot of him, of the whole guy in the suit. They also had hand puppets. So if you notice some of the shots when he's shooting out his breath, his radioactive breath, which in the first film was just steam, was just like a fire extinguisher, kind of like, and if you watch him close up, on his close-up shots of Godzilla, it's kind of a hand puppet. It kind of moves like this. It's kind of got that kind of movement going on, because that's what they're doing. So he was a series of hand puppets. There was a medium puppet, and then an up-close puppet, and then the body puppet, right? So those are the three practicals that they used to make Godzilla in the original film. The other really interesting part about Godzilla in the original film is that there's a scene where he's in the water, because he comes out of the water originally, right? And he's in the suit. The very famous actor who first played him, who I can't remember his name. It's like Nagasaki Hagi. Something very Japanese, because he's Japanese. Anyway, he's in the water, and all of a sudden some of the big floodlights that were over the studio lighting up the tank fell into the water. And as soon as they started to break loose and fall, everybody that was in the water dived out, but he couldn't. So they fell in the water, and he would have been electrocuted, but because his suit was made out of rubber, he was insulated, so he was okay. It might have been his actual second time he was caught on fire, but this time it wouldn't have came out so well. I know. So Godzilla Godzilla's been around since '56 till now. He's come a long way. So most of the earlier Godzilla films, the first few were in black and white, and then they burst into color. And Godzilla's face has actually changed too. The first kind of Godzilla's, his face is kind of chunky. It's now kind of, and then kind of broke in, like that, kind of a. And then in the 60s, for a while, like Godzilla versus King Kong, his nose was more snout-like, more like this guy. Right? Here's the model of Aurora. Snout kind of comes out more. It's not all chonked off. like it is in the first Godzilla. And this Godzilla, I like this look the best. I like that more dinosaur lizard look as opposed to the like you had bad plastic surgery, like just take a little off the top. Not with that, not with a rock. What are you doing? Now my nose is all it's like a big crunchy donut that's half eaten. It's been clogged on the end of my nose. This nose right here, right? Can you see that? Right there, right? That's kind of the nose that came back. So in the 60s, you know, there was lots of Godzillas where he fought King Kong, and then one of my favorites, Monster Zero, the three-headed Ghidorah, he fights that guy. I love the Ghidorah because they're all, the dragon heads on Ghidorah, they're having a party, man. They're all, actually the mouths don't move, they're all just kind of like that, right? Anyway, lots of great monsters, rubber monsters in Godzilla. So then Godzilla did change, right? So first he was that evil force, and then in the 60s, toward the late 60s and stuff, he became kind of this buddy, and he was kind of a friendly Godzilla. And then the kids market picked up, and now he was Godzilla for kids. And his movement was much different then. He kind of had more of a fast-paced movement, like this. And he did crazy things with his eyes, you know. And then he had his little son, you know, little baby Godzilla, who went poof, shot out those loopy little holes. He could only shoot out smoke rings, remember him? I don't know if it's or more like a so yeah, Godzilla kind of came quicker pace. Right? That's kind of how he was in the 60s. He kind of changed again, did he? He kind of became evil again. We had Godzilla 85, and you know, in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s, he still had kind of the chunky face, but was a little more elongated. And Godzilla had changed in his costume. He used to be like the guys that were wearing it. It changed in the way that the outfit got bigger. So now the person's head was kind of right here on his chest. And so it's still practical, still had a guy in a suit, which I love, but he moved more like this. He had more of a hinge kind of mouth. Oops, lost my balance. And he was fiercer too, he had this going on. And now his breath was kind of a blue, animated glow. And then he changed even more, getting more into the 90s and the 2000s. They were still using practical, but now his, what they call the dorsals, the spines in the back, now those suckers were like changing shape and stuff. They're like, you know, like in, they were getting longer. And they always had a glow, even in the original Godzilla, they glowed. But now they had kind of a build-up glow where they'd be like... So he had like a wind-up going on. Like this kind of... So people don't remember that, but yeah, kind of wound up. And then, of course, we had the Matthew Broderick American version of Godzilla, which... not a fan. Okay, some people think, yeah, it's okay. I'm like, no, it's not. He looks like a lizard, and it's all CGI. And that kind of began the ending of practical, pretty much. I think the Japanese were still sticking to the old practical, but now Godzilla's come tenfold. CGI has taken it over, right? CGI, it's really kicking in. And it's getting better and better and better. And so now Godzilla is all pretty much CGI now. In the 2000s on, they had Godzilla, came out in 1999, Godzilla 2000. That was still practical, still from Japan. But now it's come tenfold. And now the Americans have come in and they've remade Godzilla. And they have Godzilla versus Kong. And the CGI is pretty darn good now. So even Godzilla Shin was pretty amazing, wasn't it? And now Godzilla moves differently. Now granted, like I said, I haven't seen Godzilla -1 reviewed by everybody on the planet. Should be like a Mcdonald's sign. Over 17 billion reviews. I don't care. I promise you, I will not review Godzilla -1. I hear it's great. I'll be the judge. But again, I'm sure it's good. Anyway, so the new Godzillas are all much smoother, much more mass able because it's all CGI. See, the problem they had a lot of the time with the old practical Godzillas is they always had to try to shrink down mass. Fire, water, wind. So mass was always hard to do. If you blew up a ship that was a model in the water didn't look scale and the fire wasn't scale because you can't shrink. You can't make something look correct in mass if it's a miniature. But CGI has avoided all that. So now you've got a Godzilla that moves like this. And now I've seen some of the trailers of it, and now his little dorsals, they like slide up, slide up, slide up, slide up and grow a little bit, slide up and grow a little bit. There's a lot of just massive effects. You've got some really cool stuff. You've got Godzilla going underwater, underneath the ship, and everybody's like, "Oh boy, that don't look good," and he's coming at him. He's like in the water surfing and stuff, but there's a fluid movement. See, even faking you're doing Godzilla can be hard on the arms. I don't even know what I did. So Godzilla -1.